Hi, I didn't see you there. How are you doing? Facebook, internets? But for real though, how's everybody doing? Y'all doing okay? I'm Elle Brodsky. I'm the founder of Yoga Buzz. I'm here sipping on my chai with the what you might refer to as the vintage Yoga Buzz pint glass from way back in 2014, 2015 maybe? Yeah, so it's old school. Well, I thought today I'd do a little something different for some to set the mood here. We've got a ton of really awesome online yoga classes on our schedule. If you check out our website or our latest newsletter for our online class offerings. We've got prenatal yoga later today at 3 p.m. We've got a lunch break yoga at noon. We've got just yoga for anxiety, which I could definitely use. And lots of different offers coming up online. And while we're sharing all of this at no cost through our Facebook, and then we'll also post these videos up onto our YouTube, we do really encourage you to consider making a donation to Yoga Buzz. We are continuing to pay our teachers for the events that we've canceled, as well as creating this content for us to all have access to online. So your contributions are helping us be able to continue to fulfill our mission of making yoga accessible. And a big part of what we stand for also is making sure that teachers are compensated, because this content, this information is of value. And I think a lot of times, our society, our community undervalues or doesn't understand how much time and effort and study and skill goes into sharing yoga. So I want to make it clear that we're not offering these classes at no cost because there's not a value to it. We're doing it because it's in line with our mission of accessibility. In this time specifically, we have to get creative in how we do that. So that's what I'll tell you. Okay, so today you don't need anything as far as props go. I thought we'd get a little bit nerdy with a workshop format. I really love to talk about the four corners of the foot. So if you've been there with me before, that's what we're going to do today. But really kind of a way to explore some different ways that we move in in the way that we stand in our feet, and how that creates a ripple effect in how we show up in the rest of our body. Not just in yoga poses, but when we walk, when we're standing in line at the grocery store, etc. So that is what we're going to do. So let's start out with just a little bit of basic movement to sort of warm up our spine before we get going. You're welcome to do this seated or standing, whatever you need, but we start with the 6 movements of the spine. So first of that we'll do is cat and cow, or extension and flexion in the spine. So if you're standing, take and bring a little bend to your knees. If you're seated, take your hands to your thighs. Draw your chin to your chest, round through your spine. And then take your heart forward, draw your elbows back towards the back of the body, lift up through the chest. Then you can add the breath, so exhale, draw your chin into your chest. Inhale, lift your heart. And a couple more times here. Then come to a neutral spine. Give yourself a little shake. Inhale, reach the arms up overhead. Exhale, hands to the heart. So here, take and interlace all but your index fingers. Reach them up. You can keep your elbows as bent as you'd like. Extend up through the fingertips. You can also straighten your arms. And then reach over to the right. And come back up through the center, reach. Stretch to the left. And come back up through the center. Inhale, extend. Exhale, take your hands down by your sides. So if you are standing up, we're going to bring a bend to the knees again. If you're seated, you're golden. Extend your arms up overhead. Then from here, reach your left arm forward, right arm back. Inhale, reach up, turn forward. Exhale, turn to the left. Up, back through the center, inhale, and exhale. So see if you can keep your hips steady here and turn through the middle and upper back rather than through the hips. So instead of doing this, do this. Again, instead of this. All right, and take your arms down by your sides. So firstly, when we talk about the four corners of the feet, we're going to really think about how it impacts the tilt of the pelvis when we're standing. So a couple things to keep in mind here. This term, the term for a spine that is really exaggerated in the low back is lordosis. Now some people have this just in the shape of their spine, and other people it's because of their alignment, right? So there's a distinction there. Some people, this is what they've got. Other people, there's ways to create some neutralization with the spine. So also, so we'll start with that. So lordosis is when there's more compression in the low back. Kyphosis is when the pelvis tilts backwards and there's a rounding through the spine, right? It's also often, you find the forward head posture. If you hear your chiropractor or somebody talking about text neck, like all the time we spend with our heads like this, pulls the head forward and starts to create more of a rounding in the spine. So you've got lordosis, kyphosis. I remember kyphosis because it's like how a cowboy stands. Anyway, all right, so notice then here, in those two extremes, that it's a tilt of the pelvis that follows the spine, right? So it could be a tilt of the pelvis that impacts the spine, or it could be the way that the spine moves and the pelvis is impacted. It's interconnected. It's like all of us right now, right? We are all, and always really, we're all interconnected. When one of us experiences something, it inevitably has an impact on the rest of us, right? Okay, so here to exaggerate, again, the tilt of the pelvis tilting forward is more lordosis, pelvis tilting back is kyphosis. So you want to find a really neutral point in the pelvis. Now notice that with a neutral pelvis, there's still a curve to the low back, right? And that's what we have. We have a natural curve to the lumbar spine, the low back here. I should have pulled out my spine. Like, I have like a skeleton, like a demo spine, not my own spine. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. I wonder where my spine is now that I'm thinking about it. Anyway, so there's a natural curve in the low back here. Now the thing that's important to remember is that this is not a continuation of my spine, right? So when we're looking at our own body, or when as teachers we're looking at other people's bodies in the pose, this going out has really not that much to do with what our spine is doing, because this is not your spine, okay? So there you go. Okay, so with the tilt of the pelvis here, we've sort of explored that. So play with that extreme between the two sides for yourself. Just because why not? You're home alone right now, right? I'm standing in front of windows and there's nobody out there. It's okay. Okay, now when you do the kyphosis, so when you tilt your pelvis back, notice where you stand into the soles of your feet more. So for me, I notice that I'm standing in my heels more. I also notice that I'm standing more into the outer edge of my foot as well. Here. I do have a foot. So kyphosis, I feel the weight going more into my heels and the outer edge of my foot. Okay? So when I go lordosis, I still, to be honest, feel like I'm in the outer edge of my foot, but I feel like I'm more towards the toe side of my foot. And the weight is more towards the ball of my foot. Yeah. So I have a tendency, I like to stand on the outer edge of my foot. So I'm noticing that about myself as well, versus the inner edge of the foot here. Okay, so then here's where the fun begins for me. You might find it interesting as well. So we're going to talk about connecting into four corners of the foot. So there's a couple different theories and approaches. Some teachers will say there's 3 points to the foot, which is base of the big toe, base of the pinky toe, center of the heel. I was taught, and I find a lot of value in base of the pinky, base of the big toe, base of the pinky toe, inner heel, and outer heel. So that's what we're going to play with today, and then you're welcome to explore it with the 3 points of the foot if you get really nerdy about it like I do. So let's start first. Take and step your right foot forward. And with the foot that is in front of you, now try to press into the base of the big toe. Just the base of the big toe. Maybe even for me, my pinky toe kind of sticks up when I do that because of the engagement. Okay. So when you do that, notice what you feel. I feel it sort of engages the outer line of my calf, the outer edge of the calf there. I feel when I press in there that my knee sort of turns inward. And so there's this overall internal rotation to my leg that is initiated by that pressing. Okay. Now in the front foot, press into the base of the big toe. Keep that and then press into the inner edge of the heel and notice what you notice. So when I make that change, I then feel as I press into the inner heel, I feel my quadricep, the front of my thigh, start to engage and lift up a smidge, okay? All right, now let that go. Okay, base of the big toe, inner heel. Now keep those 2 points, and this is tricky. Keep those 2 points while reaching now into the base of the pinky toe. Notice what you feel. I feel a lift in the arch of my foot. I feel a centering of my knee, because I mentioned that when I press into the base of the big toe, my knee curled in. Goes internal rotation in the leg. Pressing into the base of the pinky toe now creates a little bit of external rotation so that it creates a neutral, it kind of neutralizes that line in the leg. Okay, now let that go because that's a lot. Okay, now for the final fourth part, start with the base of the big toe, inner heel, base of the pinky toe, whoop. Now press into the outer heel, all at the same time. Okay, so when I do that, I feel even more engagement in my front leg, right? I feel also, to be honest, a little bit of engagement in my low core. I feel my belly lift a little. Okay, give that a shake, and we're gonna do this one more time on the same front foot. So base of the big toe, inner heel, pinky toe, outer heel. Now, keep the foot engaged like that. Step onto the right foot and place your left foot just normally next to you. And notice if there's a difference in the engagement or in the tone of the legs comparatively. Takes a lot of concentration. I mean, I almost even feel like my waist, the side of my waist on the foot that's engaged more feels different than this side. Okay, and then give it a little hokey pokey and shake it all about there. And so now let's even it out. Let's do it with both feet here. And then later, if you feel like you need to do this specifically with just your other foot to balance it out, gotcha. Okay, so these were not the best pants to wear to show you, although I guess you can't really see my calves rippling from here on your Facebook Live, but I used to have killer calves, like just the most muscular calves when I was an Irish dancer back in the day. But that's another story. Okay, so base of the big toe in both feet, right? So now you might feel both knees come in. This is when I refer to it as my legs going cross-eyed, because I feel like my knees go in, right? Inner heel, so this takes it back. Base of the pinky toe, and then outer heel. So for me, when I hit that final point of the base of the outer heel, it creates this lift and almost like fullness in the pose for me. Versus if I don't have that, then things are kind of like, right? That's the piece that I'm often missing in my general posture, is that piece of fulfillment, of strength, of courage, of just, I belong here, damn it. That is what I need more of in my life. Okay, so 4 corners of the feet. Trying to decide which direction to go from here. So something else that you can play with, if you want, you can take, if you have a block, or if you have, let's see, like a blankie, you can take and roll up your blankie to put between your inner thighs here. So now we're going to do the same thing with the 4 corners of the feet. And I'm going to really exaggerate the tilt of my pelvis here so that you can kind of see what's going on. And you might feel this in your own body, and it probably won't be as exaggerated because, like I said, I'm doing this on purpose. So, base of the big toe, inner heel. So when I go big toe to inner heel, my inner thighs, my thighs go internal, it's called internal spiral or inner spiral. They move internal rotation, right? So that's going to create a forward tilt in the pelvis, which is then making all of this room in the low back. So base of the big toe, inner heel, base of the pinky toe is what creates a neutralizing, and this is when I then feel my inner thigh squeeze into the blanket or the block here. And then when I go outer heel, that creates more here. Whereas if I just did the outer edge of my foot, I went base of the pinky toe, outer heel, I got some real butt clenching going on. I got backwards, tilting back in my pelvis, right? So inner foot, outer foot, inner foot, outer foot. I like to call this the Pez dispenser because it's like this is the Pez and you're the dispenser. Man, I just saw the screen of what this looks like. All right, friends, so one more time. Inner or big toe mound, inner heel, base of the pinky toe, outer heel. So some things that you could do here that I'll leave it to you to try later on your own is to keep the squeezing of your thighs against that blanket or a block, and then go through a sun salutation and just notice what it's like to try to keep that level of engagement, because chances are that you've never thought of that before, right? So yoga gives us this laboratory to explore new levels of engagement and sensation in the way that we practice, because when we're aware of something new, it changes the experience. So let's try, I put these here, so before we move on, if you've got like a little bouncy ball or massage ball or a golf ball even, something you can do that's nice for your feet is to just put it on the floor and just sort of lightly roll your foot over it here. There's lots of myofascial release points in the sole of the foot, but that we won't get into that right now. But if you want to do that for your feet, and then do this four-corner practice, and then do this again at the end of playing with the four corners of your feet, I think your feet would probably be into it. Okay, so let's try a couple poses now, bringing in the four corners of the feet and seeing how that feels. Excuse me a moment, I need a chai break. Shout out to Bhakti Chai out of Colorado, which is my all-time favorite spicy chai. Okay, so let's take and step the right foot forward and the left foot back. We're gonna lunge. You're welcome to lower your back knee on the ground here as well, or you can do this in a chair. In fact, I'm gonna bring myself a little bench. This is probably not the best bench. So that this can be an option in a chair. This is a terrible bench. This did not go the way that I had anticipated, so I'm gonna move it. Thank you, bench, but maybe later. Okay, so lunge pose here. We're gonna do the four corners of the foot in the front foot. Let's start with the back knee on the ground, just because I don't know how long this is gonna take. Base of the big toe, inner heel. Feel the knee kind of tilt inward, right? Now base of the pinky toe, whoop, outer heel. I feel that all the way up into my outer hip on this front leg. Now keep that, lift your back knee if you want. Now, fun fact, you can do four corners of the foot with the back foot here, even though it's not all on the ground. So press into the base of the big toe and the back foot. Whew, I feel a lift already in my thigh. Inner heel, reach out through your inner heel. That lifts up through the back of my knee and engages this whole inner line of the leg. And keep those 2 points pressed into the base of the pinky toe. And then the outer heel. Woo! And then make sure you're staying connected through those four corners in the front foot Take your arms up if you're feeling me, or if you're feeling yourself, you know. Take an inhale. Exhale. Release your hands. And we'll switch legs. So sweaty. Not doing that much. So sweaty. Takes such a new level of effort and energy, right? Left foot forward, right knee down to start. Base of the big toe. Inner heel of the front foot. Base of the pinky toe. Oh man, when I do that, there's such a lift in my pelvis here. I'm actually even engaging down into my opposite leg, into my right knee when I do that. And then outer heel. Cool, now keep that. Lift the back knee if you choose. And whether the back knee's lifted or not, you can still engage through the back foot the same way. Base of the big toe, inner heel. Base of the pinky toe, outer heel. Make sure you got the four corners in the front foot. Reach your arms up if you feel so inclined. Take a big inhale. Take a big exhale. And release your hands to your hips, come to standing. So I will leave it to you to try these four corners in a multitude of other poses. Clearly standing poses are a great place to do it, but your feet don't have to be against the ground completely for this to work. You can try this in downward dog. You could try this in a seated forward fold as well, because it's pressing through these four corners that you're engaging muscles in the leg. The floor is great because it's giving you resistance, and it's through resistance that we get stronger and we learn, right? We learn how to adapt, we learn how to grow. But then we take the memory of that resistance and the support of the ground beneath us, and we apply that into other poses. One more thing to give you for now is there's also four corners to the palm of your hand that you can play with. Base of the index knuckle, inner wrist, base of the pinky finger, outer wrist, right? And you can play with this same action in the hands in poses like plank, like downward dog, like anything where your hands are on the ground, side plank, right? And not even when it's pressing into the ground, but also when you're reaching your arms up overhead. So you could do that lunge pose again, four corners of each foot, and then four corners of your hands as you reach up. A lot of times we reach our arms up in a pose and we're just like, nailed it, land here. But how do you then engage all the way out through every single tip of your fingers so that you've got, again, just this explosion of prana, or of energy, of movement in the body. It creates a very unique experience in how we embody the poses. Not just move our body in the poses, but embody the poses. So that's all the things that I wanted to tell you today. And there's so much more that I could say. I'm definitely curious if there's anything else that you would like to learn about. Are there poses that you'd like to break down and get nerdy about? Is there something that's been challenging for you in your body that maybe is something that we could all explore, poses or movements together? So you can comment here on this video, or you can email me at elle@yogabuzz.org. So that's ELLE@yogabuzz.org. Yeah. And then if you're practicing at home, share your practice on Instagram with the hashtag YogaBuzzAtHome. Right here. There's not a graphic, but if there was, it'd be right here on your screen. So that we can stay connected, because I'll be honest with you, I still feel really connected to the yoga community right now. Like, we've put together this really cool lineup of online classes and offerings, both for the asana, the physical poses, for meditation, for talks about philosophy as well, so that we can continue to explore the fullness of this practice. So I'm really trying to find the silver lining in creating a way to be connected to folks that I really respect and admire, and who are committed to doing work in our community of accessibility and being more inclusive and more mindful and respectful of this practice. So thank you so much for joining me today. Our next class here live on Facebook is going to be at noon with Amanda. Just a quick 15-minute movement break. So if you've been working at your desk, that's there for you. And then a prenatal class at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And then I feel like there's lots of stuff. Go on to yogabuzz.org and visit our blog, and our resources for home practice is where we're aggregating all of this information. So thank you so much for joining me. Take a few deep breaths. We're in this together, and I'll see you soon.